Hey folks, it's Tim Wood. If there's anyone out there in Facebook land, let me know you are there. We're doing it live. It's a special edition of Looped In Live. Hit me up on comments if you're around. Yeah, I know, I haven't been around for a while, so let me know if you can hear me, if you can hear the broadcast okay. We'll start in a minute or so here. Oh boy. Who we got? Anybody? Hit me up in the comments. Want to hear from you. Want to know you're out there. I'll start in a couple minutes here. Hey Tina, what's going on? Good to be back. Good to be back. So, just putting a few things out there. We know we usually go live on Thursday mornings. By the way, it's Tim Wood. Can let me know if you can hear me. Hey Eddie, what's going on? All right, so we haven't done Looped In Live for a little bit. We are going to be bringing it back. I've kind of been doing one thing at a time here in terms of getting the football show back up and running, getting the Ranger Nation radio back up and running, getting uh, this up back and running, getting our studio, getting all of the tech up and running. But as you can see across the bottom there, I guess we've also been working on another product, another version of local journalism. So we will, as I've hinted, we are going to be doing online and broadcasting moving forward. Not bringing back not bringing back Loop Weekly as you knew it for now. We will still be using some of the things we use, like Looped In Live, Are You in the Loop, that sort of stuff. But in terms of Loop Weekly, the we've decided to focus online. Most of our interaction has been coming from our posting of our online articles from the website, from loopweekly.com, and most of the interaction has been coming from videos and such. So that's where we're going to be focusing moving forward. Whoever gave me the thumbs up, thank you. But you will be seeing it in the next few days. We are working on it feverishly. You will be able to see it at MethuanToday.com. We'll be launching a site in the next few days. Just covering the community the same way we have with Loop Weekly. As you can see, breaking news, local sports, Methuen High School, youth sports. You'll be able to see a lot of the clips from Ranger Nation Radio here on the site. We'll be doing a lot of exclusive video, exclusive podcasts for MethuanToday.com. Really want to focus on online and broadcast, because that's where folks are. And as much as I am a creature of the newspaper world, as much as I grew up and learned journalism in the newspaper world, you have to adapt to the times. And so we've really seen a huge growth in the online traffic, in the in just the broadcasting, and not just the broadcasting, but the broadcasting capabilities. So that's what we'll be doing. So I just wanted to come on, do a little Ask Me Anything about things that have been going on in Methuen. Um, it's a I guess probably the place to start is it's a really interesting election season, and it's a very unique um, set of candidates. I'm really excited about the variety of the candidates, and just the folks that have thrown their name in the hat. As I've said, I've kind of been watching from afar from a lot of this, and a lot of my time has just been trying to get better over the last 3 months, especially. So, um, but I think if you start with the mayor's race, I think that of course, Dan, absolutely, great question. Not just opportunities. Before I kind of get into it, um, we want it. Absolutely, this is gonna be driven by you, and not just you, Dan Shabila, but just the community. So we certainly want contributions to the new site. And if you're interested in doing that, I would love to talk to you, because we would love to have as much of a diversity of voices on the site as possible. So um, we're going to be doing so. A lot of folks have just been curious, like, what are you doing? What are you doing back? What's your plan? Just like I said, I've been back for about 3 weeks now. It feels like a year in some ways, but we're going to be doing in terms of the election. Again, we're coming to the table late, and I certainly understand that, and I apologize personally to Dan, just in terms of not being around to cover. Um, I just was so impressed with his running, especially. I think he's got a bright future ahead. Is kind of the independent voice, and the, I won't say the little guy. I think just the outsider, the not non-connected guy. That's probably the easiest way to put it. So um, I think in terms, so we will be doing. Um, uh, yeah, I know, Mike, and it's a good comment. I'll add that too as well. I mean, so many folks said to me, um, "Why are you doing a newspaper nowadays?" And and I, there's still a lot of people that read newspapers, and as a father of two young boys, I still remember, and I still remember folks cutting and pasting articles, putting them on the fridge. We started a paper down, and I was part of starting a paper down in Bluffton, South Carolina, before I came up here, and the impact that we were able to make in that community. And it was largely driven by the newspaper, but also an online component. Um, you saw people reading newspapers again, and I kind of fell in love with that concept. But I'm also a realist, and I do see where things are going, and the technology is insane. Just the fact that I'm able to do this right now, talking to you, putting banners on the screen, doing all this all at once. It's pretty crazy. It's a unique opportunity. It's a unique time, and I think that for me personally, uh, I've run into too many instances where chasing ad dollars was kind of getting in the way of reporting the news. B, having some folks, some business owners that kind of felt they could control the coverage with their contributions. So um, we're gonna. I think this gives us a new approach. I've been doing these shows on streaming on Facebook Live for a while now. We did the shows with Costa Eagle Media, and we got connected with Restream, which is a great technology that lets you stream to multiple, I mean, as many different platforms as you want to stream to. We're streaming right now to this specific is just streaming to Facebook, but most of our broadcasts stream to Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube, and we'll add more platforms as the need warrants. There's like an infinite number of platforms that we can broadcast to. So it's an exciting time as a journalist in that fashion. It's a scary time as a journalist in other fashions, but I think you have to either decide that you're gonna be in the game and do your job and be objective and take the shots on goal, so to speak. I've been accused of having a thin skin the last few days, and I certainly can understand that. There's a lot that I don't put out there that's happened. But it's people don't care about that sort of stuff. So, and as I've said, I'm certainly not above reproach. I've made some mistakes just in terms of what I want to be presenting as a small business owner, as a parent, and I can't thank you guys enough because you've let me know. Like this, not so much the way you should be going. So. So this isn't just like a promotional announcement. I kind of wanted to come on and test the waters here. We are, like I said, we are going to start up Looped In Live pretty quick here in the next few days. Listen, I'm broadcasting from home, from my home studio. So I'm not beholden to other folks' schedule. And again, as much as I appreciated Lou. I appreciated Costa Eagle Media, Pat Costa. I had to look at some alternatives as I was looking at this extended battle with this concussion. I had to look at some alternatives if we were going to attempt to do. Our first focus, quite honestly, was the football show. We built a really good following with MVC Gridiron Weekly, and we didn't want to let that go. We just had a lot of fun, and we heard from so many folks around the Merrimack Valley that they really enjoyed that show. So that was my first motivation in terms of looking at this new technology. And what we found is just an amazing partner that is actually based right in North Andover. Their business is based in North Andover, believe it or not. They're an international company, international live streaming leader. Based in terms of the software, based right here in the valley. So that was kind of kismet. That was kind of a sign of maybe this is meant to be. So again, ask me anything. I'm watching the comments as they come up, and I'm not going to be on here too long, but. I think I guess I'll start with the just where we are at in terms of the primary winners. I think that in the mayor's race, I think congratulations to the Perry campaign. I think they were in a phenomenal get out the vote effort. And it showed in terms of the turnout and in terms of the margin of victory in the primary. And I think they've got a lot of momentum right now, and I think they're very organized and I certainly want to hear more from Neil Perry in terms of who he is and what he represents. I do agree personally, just with this concept that we're looking for change. I think we had change in terms of Dan Shabilia. I'm excited to see that he's going to be running for school committee. I just, I think he did a very good job in terms of garnering 19% of the vote, given that he was an unknown, you know, less than a year ago. So it just goes to show you what you can do if you get involved. And so many folks want to run from all these things going on, the police contract, the school overspend, so many negative things to talk about. But I think what really blows my mind is to see the impact that one person and one group can make if you just get involved. I see it all over the community, in terms of youth groups and youth groups and nonprofits, charities, just groups, PTOs, you name it. You get involved, you can make a difference. I just look at something, and again, I haven't, that was another thing. I was disappointed that I was unable to participate. The Ashley St. Ange charity, the 5K event. I think just Danielle Osorio and the whole group behind that event has just done such a phenomenal job in turning a tragedy into a celebration of life, and a celebration of everything that Ashley stood for. And so I think that's just one example of what you can do when you get involved, when you say, we're going to honor somebody, we're going to get involved with the issues. And I think, again, Dan, definitely showed a lot of folks what you can do when, as he said in the comments, you're underfunded, you're understaffed, you don't have enough time. He had a lot of things working against him, and when I was doing the Looped In live show before, I wasn't trying to pile on. I wasn't trying to discourage him from running. I was just kind of stating what he was up against. And as I said in my interview with him right after the primary, he in so many ways he proved me wrong, and he proved a lot of people wrong. So. We need that sort of outsider voice. I don't think we have that in this election right now. I think Jen Kinnan has a lot of baggage in terms of a lot of the issues that she was up against, and a lot of the things that she's been fighting in her time in city council. I think just the fact that she is a city councilor, was part of the police contract stuff, part of the negotiation. I think that's a huge hurdle to overcome, and I think their campaign has seen that so far. You have two candidates left that have a rich history in the city. They're not the outsider, the change, the stereotypical change that I think a lot of folks, or just the label of change that a lot of folks were looking for. But these are the choices you have to vote for, and I think you have one candidate who she's spent a lot of time in city council. She spent a lot of time in city government, and for better or worse, I think she has a lot of negatives to turn into positives over the course of 30 days, and just to get her message out to the voters. And I know they're doing a lot of door to door. I've seen them here in my part of the woods, although they didn't come down my street. I heard they were in our neighborhood. I'll just and I'll reiterate, anybody. I have a Jen Kinnan sign on my lawn. I'm not taking it down, but I'll put anybody's sign on my lawn. I want to promote voting in general. So this isn't about me personally endorsing anybody. I've been very clear in terms of my appreciation for Jen Canaan in terms of as a small business owner to start with when I first came into town. And a lot of folks were not opening, were not welcoming. And I've heard this from a lot of small business owners that start up in this town. This has not been, by and large, a welcoming atmosphere for new small business owners. I think a lot of folks want to keep the status quo around here. Kind of want to, I don't know, and I don't want that to come off as sour grapes at all, because I think that there's been so many people that have been welcoming. Jen was one of the first community leaders that was very, very welcoming, of a new voice and a new news source, and very supportive. Connected me with a lot of different leaders in the community, and very helpful. And so, from that perspective, I've been very clear in terms of how I feel. I have a lot of friendships just in covering. Yeah, Brian, great point. Great point. If Brian says that's a shame, if status quo is empty buildings, don't sign me up for that. Listen, I'm very concerned. Okay, I'm very concerned, and I think that it has not. I think there's been so much mudslinging. There's been more mudslinging than talking about the issues, and so much of that happens on social media. I understand that. I thought as much as I have an issue with some of the stuff that Tom Duggan has said in the last few days, he's made a lot of accusations against me simply because I do have a friendship with Jen Canaan. I've shown that I can cover issues objectively with folks that it's part of the job, unfortunately, especially community journalism. When you really do you're not doing your job unless you're really involved in the community and talking to a lot of people. And so, early on in my career, I was taught to keep an arm's distance to the folks you cover. And so journalists did not get involved in the community. And I think when you start as this evolved, as this 24-hour news cycle evolved, I think that community journalism evolved. And I think folks realize that you have to be connected in the community. You have to be, you have to let folks know that you are a part of the community as much as you're covering it. That you care about the community. It's a tightrope. It's a tightrope to walk. I won't lie whatsoever. It's a tightrope to walk. But I think that getting back to what I was saying, I think Tom Duggan did a phenomenal job in terms of the first round of debates. There's things that I would do different, but which hopefully I have a chance to. We're planning to do a number of debates leading up to the election. I think that I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I wanted to address Brian's point. One of the issues that I'm really concerned about is development in the city. I think there's just been so much overdevelopment on the residential side, and a lot of deals that probably shouldn't have been approved by our past mayors, but they were, and so we have a lot of residential development going up. The commercial development and the taxes that go along with that, the tax income that go along with commercial development, have not kept pace. And I think, just from my perspective, this city has not prepared for the future. And you see it in terms of just not even having a comprehensive, 10, 20-year master plan. And the results of what can happen with that. I think we dropped the ball when it came to working and understanding what was coming with the Tuscan Village development. Listen, that does not have to be a death bullet. It doesn't have to be that. you have to have a plan to market yourself and to development and to attract new development. Now, I think there's been some wins. There just haven't been enough wins. I think we wasted so much time talking about the 40B development across from Target. That could have been a whole another arm of the loop if they were really thinking forward and trying to create a next generation of the loop. That could have been just another arm with a walking bridge over the highway to a whole nother area of shops and restaurants over across the street. Instead, they chose to go a different direction, which doesn't even look like it's getting built now. And we see we've seen more businesses moving out than moving in, and that's never a good sign. There's too many empty buildings, as Brian said. There's too many empty storefronts. There's been a complete disregard for the businesses downtown for too long. I think, listen, Methuen Day is a great step forward in that direction, I think, and in centering it downtown and inviting all those businesses to participate and, celebrating all of the businesses and the organizations in Methuen. I think it's a phenomenal step. So as much as I was disappointed with some things that happened around the event last year, and as a small business owner, I was in the end I was a presenting sponsor of the event, but there were some things that happened around that event that were not I was not proud to be a part of, and I think some things said about one of our city councilors and his wife by one of the quote unquote local celebrities that were invited to be part of the event. I was not happy. I was not proud to be part of that when that happened. I think a lot of folks stayed silent and allowed that to happen, allowed that person to be part of the event, and I think it left a stain on it. For me as a small business owner, but that's compartmentalized. I think Methuen Day as a whole is just a phenomenal idea, and I'm happy to see that they're going to get some better weather. I think it was a good move moving it up. I think it was a good move extending the hours. As the whole Triple E thing has happened and football games have been moved to Saturday, it's unfortunate that the Rangers have an away game on Methuen Day, and that it would have been if we'd known that we were going to have Saturday games, it would have been phenomenal to have homecoming on Methuen Day as well as the open houses at the school and at the police station, at the fire department. So Dan says there needs to be a hard update before we expand it. It's not a hard update before we expand it. It's not reflective of the community. It's interesting. I'm curious. So I mean, there's so many mixed use and so many mixed use developments going in now, and small businesses. I think a lot of people want to say the loop is downtown, and in a lot of ways it is. By the way, I think today's Dan's birthday. Am I correct? So happy birthday to Dan. I think I saw that on Facebook. So happy birthday, Dan Shabilia. I love your profile photo of a different time, a younger time, a time with more chest hair, more head hair. We've already said online. I'm jealous of Dan's chest hair. So very very machismo. So and I say the machismo in the most appreciative sense of the use of the word. I think I have like 4 chest hair. There's like 6 chest hairs, I think. Didn't get that gene, unfortunately. My dad doesn't have leg hair, let alone chest hair. More sleep, is that where the chest hair comes from? I guess probably, and I am certainly in need of that. So, um, I think that again, I think the Perry campaigns are on a good campaign. You know, I've been clear on how I feel in terms of them shutting out, deciding to shut out um, interviews or debate participation. It's their prerogative, but I think it's really scary in terms of as a journalist when you report on a story and you do everything you can do, and you go above and beyond in terms of what you've been trained to do, in terms of getting comment for story, and then to have that be the end result. And I certainly can understand the idea that I may have some bias when it comes to Jen. I like her. I'm not, and like I said, I'm not running from that. So um, I don't think they've run a particularly effective campaign to date. I think that there's a lot of things that can be done better. I think that they're moving in that direction for sure. Um, I think that I just would like to see more talk about the issues. That's all. I'd like to talk. I'd like to hear what the thought is in terms of attracting commercial development. What the plan is in terms of what the thoughts are in terms of medical recreational marijuana, and how we'll regulate that in town. However you feel about the marijuana discussion, the fact is we are already so far behind as a city in addressing it, and 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 honestly regulating it and reaping the benefits of it. If it's going to be legalized, which it has been, um, we've fallen behind, and I don't think we're gonna catch up. There just seems to be a lot of paralysis by analysis on this issue, and I think in some ways that's good in terms of garnering community feedback. But I think we've just kind of punted. I think a lot of our politicians have punted on the issue, going back to Mayor Zani, and I think it was just ignored. Um, Dan says, I want to see each candidate do a live broadcast and field questions. Absolutely. No script, real conversation. I want a mayor who can think on their feet. Absolutely. I feel like a lot of what we're seeing so far is scripted, and that's a great point, Dan. And again, I haven't been to the forums. I've watched the MCTV. I've watched the Duggan debates. Um, I think that was just phenomenal in a lot of ways in terms of informing the community, and something that we need. We need more of that, and I think I do think the MCTV comes off. The MCTV debates have come off kind of staid and stiff, and not a lot of like real interaction. Why do I feel someone did that? Oh, geez. So okay. So we've got a frickin' frack in terms of the back and forth comments here. um, I think that we do need more. We do need more just real answers to questions, and then that's why I was so disappointed by the approach. I wanted the chance. Again, I've been away for a while. When I did come back, I wanted one of the first things I did was reach out to folks in the Perry camp and ask for a meeting just to explain that I have a history of proving. I have a history of covering things objectively with folks that I have had relationships with and have had affinities for. Jamie Atkinson, Judy Scannell. Those are not two things that I'm particularly proud of. I think those were stains on the city in terms of those scandals. But I broadcasted football games with Jamie. And basketball games. I again, felt the same way about Judy Scannell that I felt about Jen Canaan and other community leaders in terms of embracing a new voice. And so there's times where this job sucks hard. I'm not lying. It's there's times where I've really thought to myself, what path did I choose here? Like, you want to make an impact in the community, you want to be a positive force, but yet you want to report news. And I couldn't. I mean, you just can't, no one could ever anticipate the barrage and avalanche of scandals here. Um, and so you have to make a choice in terms of covering it, and you either don't cover it or you cover it objectively, and you lose some friends when you do that, unfortunately, and that sucks. Um, the I think a lot of the discussion online has been very negative so far, very disappointing. Again, I really wasn't online a whole lot during those months away, on purpose. I think part of me just kind of needed a break. Part of me just couldn't, like, physically go online. I couldn't even sit in front of the computer like this for 3 of those months. So just disappointing to see the 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 level of debate. Jeff, yeah, good point. Not to mention all the lawsuits against the city. Yeah, I mean, it's, and obviously the police contract stands out. Um, the Tully situation with the DPW. I saw that reported in the Eagle Tribune, and that's embarrassing. However, whatever truth there is to the claims that were made in that lawsuit, the reality is we paid out $32,000 in that lawsuit, plus probably more in terms of our legal costs to defend ourselves. Um, and I think that I think that uh, I really hope that this last month is just that all the candidates focus on the issues. I think um, I wouldn't blame Canaan for fighting back, and I've seen some of that, and I think that was part of what probably frustrated the Perry camp, was that you had Canaan kind of fighting back in answering the city council move for the complaint letter, the ethics commission, and you know the Canadian camp really hadn't fought back. They hadn't connected some of the dots in terms of, there's been a lot of talk about all of Canadian's relationships and conflicts and family involved in city government. Not a whole lot of talk in terms of just like who's surrounding the Perry camp, and again, it's not a negative thing. I said it to Perry myself. Like, the fact that you would seek counsel from a former mayor is a good thing when you haven't governed before. So, and Dan did a lot of the same stuff. I wouldn't say had a lot of former officials on the campaign, but he's reached out to everyone to ask questions about, like, what we've done wrong in the past, what we can do better in the future. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen those discussions, and I know that all the candidates have been doing that. But I specifically with Perry, I have no issue in terms of. I think it's smart of him to have Sharon Pollard and Tom Lucier. Smart of him in a way, but I think you can't throw those stones in terms of talking about conflicts of interest or talking about connections and insider politics when you yourself have a lot of those same connections. That's all I have said in response to Perry's reaction. I think that again I it's much the same way that my opinion on the police contract. Okay, I think that our former mayor, our former auditor. I think that um, the buck stops there in terms of their um, responsibility to presenting that contract to city council, and what was negotiated, what was said. And I think if you read between the lines of some of the stuff that the union attorney has said, it seems like they wanted to be. Their allegation is that they wanted to be transparent as much as possible, and that our former mayor Zani did not want to be wanted to focus on the 022 component of it, which he did in presenting it to city council. Um, I personally, I don't hold. I think that there was a voting block in place to approve that contract. I think that um, I think that there probably was a I'm not going to say conspiracy, but I think they almost wanted to invoke the rule of necessity so they could get Atkinson and Fountain in on that vote, and Jajuga, because those were three people that were supporting the police contract. Canaan, Ferry, Vidler, Shula, I believe, were all not really supportive, but I think um, so there was a voting block there in place, which again is um, that's how you politic. So I don't again, it's hard for me to take issue with that. I just don't think. I think it's been very convenient to put all the blame on one city councilor. Um, what about Linda's role in setting it up for Fountain and Atkinson jobs? I assume you're talking about Linda Dean Campbell. Dan, I've asked this before, and I've said this before. Her role in sponsoring the homeroom petitions, and the way that she addressed it, and quite honestly, the way that she addressed the um, homeroom petition for relief from the state with the $4 million overspend. There's just a lot of issues. Um, and Dan, you're absolutely right. If they weren't supportive, they could have voted no. I think that I can't speak for any one of them, and I do. I think that Canaan can speak to that without it being the sole issue in the campaign, because it isn't all that matters. It really isn't. It is a huge issue, without a doubt, but it's not all that matters. And I think, listen, the fact that Dan brings that up, Dan's not the only person that has brought that up. It has been brought up repeatedly to me that if you didn't support it, you could have voted no. And I think that Jen Canaan needs to address that more clearly. It's very clear in terms of talking to folks that people need more clarity when it comes to that. Why? Why? And ultimately, I think if I'm on city council in that moment, I am not there to decipher legalese in the contracts. I do think in my first glance of the contract that some of that stacking stuff jumped out at you, and I've said that before. It jumped out at me. But in terms of comparing contract for contract, I think that city council was taking the lead from the mayor, and and trusting the mayor. I think that I do believe it was a unanimous vote, Matthew. Which again, I think we all have to be accountable for those votes. I think folks need to be accountable for. I think folks need to be accountable for. For. I just kind of confused Methuen Day is commenting, I would highly suggest if you're going to talk politics as Representative Methuen today, you probably change your accounts and comment as yourself. That's not a real good look. But yes, I do. So I think that you also have to look at who approved Tom Kelly's like golden parachute goodbye, and why he was not held more accountable. I think we have this culture of just kind of being too gentle with our officials. So yes, that's what I was saying, Sean. It's supposed to be apolitical, so seeing that comment pop up was a little strange. So I would hope that whoever is typing behind that account does change sign in and sign out into their personal account. So yeah, Dan, we don't have accountability. Tom Kelly was not held accountable. Okay, it's one thing to demand him to say who he told ahead of time. I don't know. DJ Mike, I had just put it up on the screen what Methuen Day had said, but here's the comment. So many safeguards were bypassed. So I think that it's one thing to not force him to tell who he told, which counselors he told ahead of the vote in terms of his concerns with the terms of the contract and how it would escalate payments. It's another thing, like if he's not going to say it, then hold him accountable. Fire him. I don't care if I don't care if he's worked for the city for 40 years. If you are going to not do your job, I mean, he deserved to be fired. And that would have been fired for cause, and you could have fought all of that back pay payment. Instead, we gave him this ridiculous 70% pay, like way above what they even had to begin with, let alone firing him and not having to pay it in the first place or pay all of it in the first place. But Canaan did vote against that. That much I do know. But I think these are the issues. Yes, she did. Thank you, Marilyn. Jen did vote against that. I don't have the full vote in front of me, but I do remember from being there for the vote that. So I think that I would like to see more focus on the issues as we move forward here. More focus on as much as we need to be accountable for the past. This is like about the future. I'm not gonna say let's be Mark McGuire here and say I'm not here to talk about the past, but because I've certainly taken issue with that when Jajuga said that at first about the police contract vote. He was basically saying that. He was like, I'm not here to talk about the past. We've got to focus on how to address this in the future. So I think that hi Rich. I think that we need to focus on some of this future stuff. I think we need to learn from the past, and it needs to be part of what we consider when we vote. But I want to hear more about what these folks are doing about the future, and I just hear a lot of vagaries right now. Even the stuff that's posted on their websites, which again, in terms of connecting with voters, it's great to have websites, but like people want to just hear it. People want to hear it. They want to hear that it's not scripted. They want to hear the passion of these candidates. And honestly, and again, just in my 3 weeks to a month back in terms of just really kind of digging into a lot of this stuff, I think that you've seen a lot of that from the council races. I think you're seeing passion, you're seeing real conversation, you're seeing you're seeing a real dialogue going on in the council races. And I don't see that on the mayor level, and that's really where we need it the most. So I think you need more of just less scripted answers, more passion. I want to see it from both candidates. I was disappointed in the fact that given that there's no incumbent, I honestly was disappointed there were only 4 candidates for mayor. But this is what we have in terms of our choice now. So I want to be as informed as I can as we head to election day, and I want to do my part in helping to inform you. Whether it be on these shows, whether it be on debates, I've offered the opportunity for every candidate to do a video question and answer, much like I did with the candidates in 2017. We'll call them the Country Kitchen Conversations. I filmed them at Country Kitchen. Probably do that again. I have wireless mics now where the audio will be much more not picking up all the stuff around our conversation. So, I hope that all the candidates will take me up on that beyond just the debates, because I think those were not just to toot my own horn, but those were useful in terms of hearing from the candidates that did those in 2017. I think that I pledge to you right now to do my part in terms of helping to inform you, but we're one source, and I think the biggest way for them to do that is just to knock on doors, get out to as many events as they can, get to as many folks as they can, use social media for what it's good for in terms of getting to a lot of folks all at once. So I hope we see it. Dan says, we need to drive more people out to the polls. The list is out. A lot of folks who said they voted didn't. Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you personally that I didn't vote. I was turned away. But that's a whole other topic. And I think, we didn't receive the census card from the city, and I think the census card was tied to I think that they canceled, they suspended your voting privilege if you didn't fill those cards out. So we've got the card now, filled them out, and hope I won't have any issue personally. But I think, we need to get more people out. And I think you will. I think the September date, it was just an off. I hate the primary in terms of when it's in the fact that it's just all out there on an island, and it's not an official day, so folks can't take it off or can't. There's a lot of things in place to give folks an excuse not to vote in the primaries. Not as many excuses for the for election day. One thing I will say is I think Perry's folks did an outstanding job of getting their base to the polls, and whether that having a network of drivers, which is perfectly legal, driving folks who can't get to the polls, like physically can't get to the polls because they don't have their license, or they're handicapped. I think that from that perspective, I hope that all candidates will embrace that and do and honestly, I hope that there's folks that will organize it on their own to just get folks out to the polls, and folks that are registered to vote, get them out. So, you know, but I really would like to hear, and I'll be soliciting from folks. I'd really like to hear in terms of what you want to hear about. You know, I'm not going to be writing articles on each candidate. We're offering to do videos, and because I just as much as I enjoy writing, I just want to. I think folks just want to hear directly from candidates without any of my words in the way. Just kind of segueing between quotes. I think that's kind of a waste of effort and a waste of the ability to get directly to the voters. So we'll be doing those be doing those videos. We'll be doing debates. If you as a voter want to sponsor the debate broadcasts, reach out to me. We will certainly hook you up there in terms of sponsoring the broadcast. Whether I get sponsors or not, we're going to do the debate. It's not going to be dependent on that. There are some costs in terms of putting it on, but again, we're going to do it regardless. It's not about. I've been very firm in my belief since we started this, and I may be on a soapbox here, but I've been very firm in not using my business as a means of like extreme profit, as like in not using the elections as a profit center. And I think that a lot of media do that, and a lot of media around here do that in terms of like charging exorbitant amounts for campaign ads. And it's not something I'm going to be part of. I haven't been, and I'm not going to be. And you know what? That may be part of why we didn't make piles of money with Loop Weekly, but I can sleep at night, at least, in terms of knowing I stood for what I believe in there, and I'm not you know, an angel by any means. It's just it's what I believe, and I don't. Other folks do their own thing, and they're certainly welcome to that. So let me know what you want to hear about in the comments. I'll be putting more direct comments online and asking for input ahead of these debates, ahead of these interviews. You know what? And one of the things that I wanted to say to folks is, if you've noticed our MVC show, our Ranger Nation radio show, we have the technology, we have the ability to drop in videos just like that. So if you want to be part of these shows, you want to be part of the debate, asking a question, you want to be part of Looped In Live instead of just in the comments, you want to be seen and heard, you can shoot a quick 2-minute, 3-minute video on your iPhone and just text it to me or email it to me. That's all that's been happening with these sports broadcasts. Folks are just texting me video that they shoot at games, or texting me post-game interviews. So it's the same concept here. If you want to be part of these broadcasts moving forward, you want to be part of we're going to just be an interactive force. That's really my goal. Is I think we're doing it with Loop Weekly, but I want to do even more of it moving forward. And so if you have specific questions you want answered, instead of just kind of the staid answer this in 2 paragraphs, answer this, and the staid topics that everybody has to answer, and therefore you get a lot of the same canned responses. You can probably look back 25 years in elections and see a lot of the same responses. So we need specific answers to specific issues impacting our community right now, and I want to be part of asking those questions. So I plan to kind of give my thoughts on the other council races, but listen, I'm just overall impressed. I think that I think in the Central, I think Joel Ferretra made a great showing, and just like the new voices in that were encouraging, even though Jordan Norman Dean Dina or didn't get through the primary. Just to have those different voices involved in in those races, and um, I think for the incumbents like McCarty and Campagnon in the Central, it just kind of is forcing them to raise their game a little bit. That's all, and the end result of that is only good things for the voter. So, Dan says Joel for mayor. I have to say, okay, so I have to say, Joel was labeled as sports guy. Bill Bryant was labeled as sports guy. Steve Saba, before was labeled as sports guy because they were on the MEIC, of which I am part. Because I'm a big youth sports guy. So I have been part of that organization, in supporting youth sports. So but Joel works his tail off when it comes to lacrosse and youth sports and anything he gets involved in. Fantasy football, which I by the way I did beat him this past week. So, yeah, I've been impressed with Joel. I don't think these folks that have been labeled as sports guys. I think they've had a really good showing so far in what I've seen in not just in how the vote turned out, but just in how they've answered questions and how they have hustled in these races. I think in the West, so I think I think it's going to be interesting for Richard Deeb, Campagnon, McCarty. Those are four quality choices right there, for varying reasons, and so I think it's more important even in that race for them to differentiate themselves and make it clear why, without attacking the other folks, just make it clear on what makes them stand out. I think you can say a lot of the same things about the West. I think the West has a diverse group of city council candidates. Mike Simard, Allison Safi, Frank Gallo, Bill Bryant. I think you have a diverse swath of the community there, and whatever impassioned them to want to make a run, God bless, because it's awesome to see this variety of new voices in the race. And again, I do think that I want to see more about the future from that group specifically, and what they plan to do, and how they plan to interact with folks. I think one key component I really want to hear from folks on is, how are you going to interact with folks that you may not have agreed with during the campaign, or you may not have agreed with, you may have taken to task on specific issues ahead of you running for office? How do you plan to work across the aisle, so to speak, for a common good? So I really want to hear that from all the candidates, but specifically the West candidates. I think the at-large group, again, this is probably I won't say the most interesting, but I think you have Jess Finicaro, who is the incumbent, who has been very vocal on the council. Like her, hate her, whatever your view is, she has been passionate. She has been vocal. I think that this council as a whole, I think not just one councilor. I think the council as a whole got bogged down in politics, and I didn't see as much of a finding common ground. I think that a lot of a lot of unfortunate um, personal. I think there was more personal politics than seeing a lot of working for common ground. Um, and that's not just Finicaro. That's the whole. It's not singling her out by any means. That's the whole council. And I think so. I think as part, just like with Jen Canan, I think as Finicaro running as an incumbent, Campagnon, McCarty running as incumbents, I think that you've got to answer that. You've got to answer it how you are going to um, move forward and not focused on past fights. Focus on how you're going to work with folks you may not always disagree with for the common good of the city. So I think that's something that Jess as an incumbent will have to answer there. I think you've got two incumbents in the central. You've got one incumbent in this race. So she's kind of outnumbered in terms of newcomers versus incumbents here, and with the newcomer kind of wave of folks wanting change, she'll need to get her base out to vote, and she'll need to just make it clear why, make it clear of her accomplishments and what she fought for, and what she'll fight for moving forward. But I think, listen, I was, as much as I might say, sorry, I may talk about just an unfortunate level of discourse on the council at times. I think this council was a huge step forward in terms of attention to detail, in terms of doing the research. I think that so I think as much as folks want to say, it's a bad time to be labeled an incumbent, I think that folks like Finicaro, like McCarty, I think they show how this past council evolved. I think there was a lot of good from that perspective in researching issues, in being informed. So I don't think it's necessarily an awful thing to be an incumbent right now. You just have to make it clear on what you did good and what you're going to do moving forward. And I think she did that very well in the Duggan debate. So I just want to hear more of it from her, and I want to hear from. Listen, I think Nick Zaglio has some negatives to address. I think being the the non-mayor leader of the school committee during this $4 million overspend situation, during a lot of different things that went on with the school committee, during the scandal situation. I think that he has some things to answer for. So, I mean, he's a different kind of incumbent here, so to speak. He's trying to make that leap from school committee to city council. And again, from what I've seen so far, he's done an excellent job in addressing a lot of the concerns. I do think he tends to get defensive about it sometimes, which I wouldn't blame him, because it's been a very difficult situation to maneuver. I'm really impressed with Steve Angelo. I'm impressed with all these candidates, but I didn't know Steve Angelo. I knew of Steve Angelo. Obviously, you know the name, the last name, and the family pedigree, which has been excellent in the city. But I'm really impressed by what I see out of just him as a new candidate. I'm really, I think DJ is a politician. DJ has been in politics for a lot of his life, behind the scenes, and again, that's not a bad thing. I think the wanting to be in that public service role is an excellent thing. Sean, people should realize what a huge commitment it is to run for any uh, office very hard and time. I mean, that's an excellent point. It really is. So I think that is where we need to start the level of conversation and debate from a level of appreciation for these folks putting themselves forward to run. I think that it is a tremendous commitment, and you are putting so much of yourself out there and opening yourself to so much criticism and, quite honestly, personal attacks, and just so many of the things that are wrong with our society right now. And I won't jump too hard on that box, but um, I think we need to start the conversation and the questioning just from a level of appreciation of their efforts. And I saw that a lot just sitting in city council meetings. I was always impressed with the folks that kind of, you know, um, made their comments and their concerns voiced from a place of starting from a place of just appreciation for the council's efforts, because they don't get paid a lot, and it's a huge time investment. These campaigns are a huge time investment. So, Sean, that's an excellent point. Um, so I think that DJ, I'm going to be really interested. And again, I think it's a very interesting, diverse group of candidates there. And DJ had a great or not primary, excuse me. I think DJ has done a great job in reaching out to all sides. I think that I think given his past relationships, there's probably some concerns in terms of where his allegiances lie, or what favors are promised, if any. I think he's done a good job of addressing that. So I think that I'm impressed overall what I see from all these candidates. I can't I it's not. I mean, who am I, first of all, to criticize? Again, going back to Sean's comment, just the appreciation of them running in the first place. It's something that 99% of the folks, 99.99% of the folks don't take on in their lifetime. So, well, I mean, that's good to hear, Dan. Probably only candidate on the ballot I have zero concern. I mean, I don't hear that myself. I think there are some concerns in terms of his past relationships with former mayors and but again, I don't see that as a negative. And again, these conflicts of interest we talk about, these past relationships, it's all about what you do when faced with the conflicts or the relationships. You can use that for good, you can use that for evil. But I think it's all about what you have, like having those past relationships. And any one of us in life can relate to this. There's people that you learn from. There's people that you learn what you want to be if you are ever in a leadership position. There's people that you learn everything you never want to be if you ever get in a leadership position. And trust me, I've had a lot of both sides of that in my life, thankfully, because I think it makes you a more informed person and more able to carve out exactly what you want to do as a leader. A lot of dances, a lot of people talk, but a lot don't take the time to get to know the people. Yeah, I think great point. And I think that it is not incumbent on voters to take the time to get to know the candidates personally. It is incumbent, I think, as a well-informed voter, we obviously want that from every voter, to take the time to get to know the candidates. But I think at the end of the day, it's more incumbent on the candidate to make themselves known to the people and make themselves known in terms of why we should be voting for them. So, and I think DJ's done an excellent job of that. All I see I see by and large, I see a focus on their in terms of the council candidates. I see a focus on their individual campaigns, their individual past achievements, their individual goals for the future. Um, so I think, and I think, quite honestly, just I see an overall um, level of respect for fellow candidates from the council candidates. I don't. Um, it's and it's encouraging to think about how this next council could shake out, and like no matter who's on that council, um, I think it's encouraging folks like DJ, folks like Nick, Mike Samard, just to name a few. I mean, Ferretra. You look at any one of these races, I see folks that have mostly focused on their positives and rather than their candidates' negatives. Um, Politics is nasty by definition, and it doesn't have to be. And I look again. I point you to, and it's on the floor at the moment here at the studio, but it fell on the floor. Dennis DeZoglio's book in terms of how to run campaigns, how to work with um, fellow elected officials. It doesn't have to be nasty all the time. Like we are so conditioned nowadays to, if I don't like what you say, I hate you. Like if I don't agree with what you say, I hate you. And we can never be friends, and we can never have a civil conversation about the issues. Like, I'm in my camp, you're in your camp, and we're going to go to war. And listen, a lot of that's coming trickle down from the national level. It just is, and it's not just Trump this time. It's been a slow de-evolution of the political process and the political discourse, and we are seeing it in Methuen now. And it doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't, and it can't. If we're really going to focus on the future and get past so many of the issues here, it can't be. There has to be a higher level of conversation and discourse. And I see it from the council candidates, and I really look forward to talking to them both in a debate situation, and in a in a Q&A video kind of situation, to hear a lot more of that from the candidates. So I think that's all I got for now, folks. I'm kind of getting my sea legs back under me in terms of, I don't think you're going to see any 4-hour broadcasts from me anytime soon, even when I'm not paying for the studio time. But I think that's all I got for now. And I am getting a call. You can hear my stupid phone. Again, you have anything else you want to address? Any questions? I think Dan Shabilia is the MVP commenter today. I've seen a lot of people come and go out of the stream here, but ask me anything moving forward. I want to help address for what I can do. I want to help address your concerns with the candidates. And in the access that I have to the candidates and the forum I have to present them to you. I want to get as much of your feedback in as possible. So again, I want to thank all the folks that reached out to me, and reached out to me both when I was away, and there were a lot of questions that I just wasn't prepared to answer. Some personal stuff going on with family, some health issues, and some real life or death stuff that I really didn't want to talk about, because I really needed to my all my focus to be on my family. Um, and quite honestly, then when the concussion happened, I mean, I was gonna come back in June, and when the concussion happened, it knocked me out literally, and it knocked some of the wind out of my sails. I felt incredibly stupid for falling and hitting my head on my concrete step. Um, um, but I really can't thank folks enough for reaching out, encouraging me to come back, and being extremely, by and large, supportive since I have come back. And I also um, appreciate the input from folks, in terms of some of the decisions I've made over the last 3 4 days. Um, it's I certainly have a newfound appreciation for candidates. I've seen it in terms of, covering candidates in the past, in terms of all the negative, and personal attacks they have to endure. Um, I have um, been drawn kind of into the mud more than I, am proud to admit the last 3 4 days. I can only promise to be better at that moving forward. But I will say I thoroughly appreciate the folks that reached out in a civil way and said to me, like, come on, man, you're better than that. I really do appreciate it, and I heard you, and we're gonna be better than that moving forward, and we need to be. As I've said, we need to be, and I'm gonna do my part in modeling that moving forward. So, all right, for now, I am gonna sign off. I appreciate the folks who took the time to watch, and I'll see you soon, very soon. We are going to get back to Thursdays in terms of Looped in Live, but we're going to do more shows. And it's not just going to be during the day. We're going to do some shows at night. We're going to hit some different, time slot sweet spots in terms of where folks watch, and yeah. Uh, any input you have in terms of what you want to see, just let me know. All right. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Uh, I don't know, Dan. Maybe. I think right now, the post council meeting shows are kind of probably a waste because they're in a lame duck situation right now. Um, I have it's really easy for me to stream the council meetings. Um, just as another means of watching them kind of as a group together. Um, so I do plan to do that like I did for the last council meeting. I don't know about the post meeting shows. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Um, I gotta get you told me I had to get some sleep, and I think part of, my issue is I wasn't getting enough sleep. And but if there's a demand for that, and there was, we'll do them. Sure, absolutely. And get yourself set up on Skype. Well, you are set up on Skype. We did the interview, so um, I'll bring you in to the conversation. Absolutely, as a impartial, commentator now. Although you may be a school committee member, so but I think you've shown you can juggle. So yeah, we may do the post council shows. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah. All right. Um, More to come on what's next. Maybe if something big that yeah, exactly, Steve. Good point. Maybe if there's something big happening that night. I may not do every city council meeting, but maybe if there's a big vote or you know, uh, I I will tell you that we are going to do a post mortem on each city council meeting, which is something I had planned to do with Loop Weekly in the first place, in terms of just kind of recapping each meeting and why each issue that they bring up is important to you. We plan on doing that with the city council meetings moving forward, and making clear what the vote is on each, um, kind of breaking down each city council meeting. I don't know if we'll do that immediately after the council meetings, but we will do that in general on the site in podcast form and videos. So, I listen. I will just say, and we haven't really put out any specifics yet, but if you are a small business and or if you're just a concerned voter, you want to sponsor the debates, you want to help support this new endeavor, Methuen Today, we will be reaching out for help, you and more on that to come. More on that to come. I think we're uh, this new site is just part of a step of kind of an evolution that I'm kind of in the middle of. I think it's all good stuff, and I think the end result won't be good just for not just for Methuen, but the goal, just like Loop Weekly was, is that Methuen is kind of the test ground for getting things right, and then doing some more stuff around the Merrimack Valley. So anyway, for now, Tim Wood, I hope you're having a great Thursday, and we will. I'll talk to you soon. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon online. You can call me anytime, 843-290-6242. I may not always pick up, but I'll get back to you. You have any questions or comments, or input in terms of what we weren't doing before that we need to be doing more of now, I want to hear it. So for now, I'll sign off. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.